Anyway, what's up, y'all? I'm your girl, the Benjamin B. What you watching on TV? Well, I'm still on this Love Island USA season 8 shit. And this is gonna be where I really want to dive into Anaya and K.C as a couple. Now they ain't no couple no more. That ship has sailed, it has run its course, and it's over. But before they got to that point, they were actually pretty cute together, I would say. So Anaya, she and K.C, they hooked up at the beginning of the show at the door challenge. Now it was by default because neither one of them really wanted each other, but some kind of way they ended up together because they was the only two scragglers that was left. And to be fair, once they got into their little couple, they really did seem like they had some pretty decent, little chemistry. They seem like they matched up or whatever. But I remember some of those earlier episodes watching their dynamic, right? And I know I really like being a girl's girl and all the things. And I'm aware Anaya is sensitive. And I think to some degree, she probably has a right to be, right? If I'm just all the way honest about that shit. But Anaya was getting on my motherfucking nerves. Oh, I hated watching him and her together with some of those conversations they would have. So first off, let me say what I do like. I did like how K.C would talk to her, right? You would see him and he would just be like, I think you're so beautiful. And he would tell her she looked good every day. It'd just be little shit that dudes do or don't do that make all the difference in the world, right? And I think for the most part, he was pretty stand up about that. He would just compliment her a lot. And the way he would compliment her, like it wouldn't come off fake. You know how sometimes people compliment or they say some shit and it's kind of like they're just trying to gas you up or butter you up or something. It didn't really come off that way. Now, maybe it could have been just that. I don't know. But it didn't come off fraudulent to me. It came off to me like he's seen this girl who maybe she remind him of somebody or girl that meant a lot to him, like maybe a family member or a sister or something like that. Not saying he saw her as his sister, but I'm saying like maybe he recognized or like her being maybe a little more melanated than some folks. She may have some kind of, undercurrent of, self-consciousness or something like that. And so, and I'm not saying that she shouldn't be proud of who she is or that she's not proud of who she is. The irony to that is I think everybody look at her will look at her and be like, damn, she is so gorgeous. You know what I mean? Like she's a beautiful girl, but she don't believe she beautiful. Now, if you ask her if she thinks she beautiful, she probably would be like, yes, I'm beautiful and I'm strong. Like she probably say some corny shit, some self affirming bullshit, but does she really believe it to her core? Mm, I don't think so. It don't feel like she don't move like she's the type of girl that be like, yeah, I'm a boss bitch. Like, I don't think she see herself like that. And I think that K.C could smell that on her, right? And so, in an effort to try to keep her, kind of, above water or something like that, she just seemed to have kind of a melancholy type of disposition. You know what I mean? And so I wouldn't say she like super depressing, but when you think of Anaya, just from what I have observed on the show, and I don't know her in real life, obviously, but she don't look fun to me, right? She looks like the type of girl that is, I don't know, she just feel like a lot emotionally to deal with. She feels like a heavy weight. She feel like the friend that's always going through some shit and things are always dark and dingy and terrible. And then if you like her man and you with her, it seems like she gonna always be able to locate something that's going on that's wrong, something is off, and she's needing you to make sure that you know that she feels that it's off, and oh, girl. Anyway, I think he did very well with her at the beginning of the things, right? Then we get to a point where the bombshells come in. Who was it? Jen, Soul, and Caleb arrive to the house. Jen, um, Caleb is a dude, so it don't really matter in this context. And then Soul. Soul bad than a motherfucker. Okay. Soul is so goddamn cute. She come up in there and all the boys out of her and Jen, I think, was really like, okay, Soul is the business. And K.C, like he liked her too, and he even said that she looked like one of his ex-girlfriends or something like that. So he actually really liked her, and he had said that he wanted to explore, and I think he kind of discussed that amongst the boys. And to be honest, when when Naya approached him about it, first off, she got all up in arms because of the paint on somebody's body or some shit. They had some paint in the bed in a little competition, so I guess she had rubbed him down a little extra, so it was extra red paint on him from where Soul had like really rubbed him up or some shit. I don't. So Anaya approaches him and is like, "Hey, do you really want to explore?" And he like, "No, I'm not trying to explore. Like I'm chilling. You know what I'm saying?" And so they kind of had the little conversation, and she's like, "Well, I just was checking, you know." And so they kind of let it go. Well, then some kind of way, her and Sincere end up talking about it because Sincere felt some kind of way because Melanie was celebrating. She almost threw a fucking party when Caleb's ass showed up. And so Sincere was in his feelings about that. And then Anaya's in her feelings about the extra red paint rubbed on KC from Soul. So they're having a little bonding moment. They up there talking or whatever. And Sincere reveals to her, well, hey, matter of fact, he even told her, he said, listen, Anaya, don't tell him I told you, but KC said that Soul looked like one of his ex-girlfriends. And so, oh my God, all hell breaks loose. The earths and the heavens is on fire. She is upset. She is just full of turmoil. So she goes to KC and says to KC, hey, did you say you wanted to explore Soul? And he's like, no, I didn't really say that, you know, but I mean, I would like to explore her. Like we're still open, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not really pressed about it, like, cause I chose to stick with you. She goes into this whole fucking thing. Oh my God, bless her heart, Lord. She goes into this whole thing about how she don't want to be the safe choice and she don't want to be the default choice. And that if he wants to explore, he needs to just go explore. And as I'm watching that conversation, I'm thinking to myself, ain't that what all the bitches want the niggas to do? Don't the bitches want the nigga to choose them, even if the real fine badass girl walk by, the one that they really lusting for, but they control themselves and say, "Oh, she is so hot." But I really want to preserve the feelings of the person that I'm in my situation with. Ain't that what they want? Ain't that? I think that's what I would want. I think that's. Am I tripping? That conversation infuriated me so fucking much because I was like, him choosing to choose you is the choice. Who the fuck cares if she's cute and she looked like his ex-girlfriend? If he wanted to pursue that, which I think is a point that he did kind of make to her later on, if he wanted to pursue Soul, he very well could have pursued Soul, but he didn't pursue Soul. And even if he was pursuing Soul and Soul was talking to Sincere, it's not like he could have just been like, hey, like all the other motherfuckers in here is sharing hookups and connections. He could have pulled Sincere to the side and been like, say, man, like I'm really cutting for her and I'm finna fuck with it. You know what I'm saying? So you my boy and I'm letting you know. Like if he wanted to pursue and do all of that, he could have very well have done all of that. But Anaya loses her shit and she don't want to be the default option when all the other bitches in the rest of the whole world. I bet Melanie wish Sincere would choose her as a motherfucking default selection. Let's ask Melanie how she feel about it, dealing with Sincere's loose, willy-nilly ass. She probably would really prefer that he say, hey, I'm gonna stick to what's safe. And the safe option for me is Melanie. Sincere's not moving like that. Okay. Sincere's in there, he hobnobbing and slob diving all the bitches. And then he go back to her face and be like, well, yeah, I slobbed her down, but I'd rather slob you down. I'd rather be with you. That is as big of a turn off as a motherfucker that is like lying about cheating. Like, I can't believe we gonna get to Sincere and Melanie later on. I just but based on those conversations between Anaya and KC, it really drove me to be annoyed with her. And now we back from Casa Amor. So I very much so enjoyed the little competition where they had the little postcards and you had to match up and send a postcard to the person you want to couple up with. It was very precious. They wrote their letters to each other. Again, they choose each other in this little competition and you get like a glimmer of hope that everybody gonna be all right and calm down and come to their senses and shit. No. Soon as that happened, Casa Amor open up and the boys get shipped over to Casa Amor. And so, to be honest, KC had enough of them conversations with her to when he got to Casa Amor, he was all the way open and very happy to explore. And he almost couldn't, he was chomping at the bit to get to something else, something new, something different, something fun, something pleasant. And so then he gets there, he meets Miss TT. I think he kind of was talking to Sydney too. I don't, we glad Sydney gone. But yeah, he ended up connecting with TT, and that I mean, I guess the rest is history because now he's back over in the Casa Amor and he brought TT with him back to the villa. Now, here's the thing about him coming back to the villa. First off, when he got back to the villa, all the girls, which I have to take this moment to acknowledge how the girls have their back. Like I told y'all before, they were very vocal during this recoupling shit at the after the Casa More because they was technically in the villa now. But after Casa Amor, they did the recoupling. All the girls had something to say. Okay, they ate Corbin's ass up. Well, Kenzie really ate him up, but they really ate KC up. They ate his ass. They told him anew. They was brutal with that baby. And so I think because they in the house and they all close and they kind of like almost like in a hamster cage, you know what I mean? So right now, and the only thing that's real to them right now is the shit that's going on in that house. They don't have the perception of all the millions of us who are sitting here watching this shit play out in real time while they living their life in this hamster ball, right? And the girls just harped on him, harped on him. They called him an asshole. Anaya say he was disrespectful, which I kind of struggle with the disrespect because he never really called her out her name. He never didn't tell her. I mean, he told her at one point that he was still open. I think she felt disrespected because she wanted him to tell her back before he left the Casa Amor that he was open to explore and want to do something different. But I think to his point, he didn't really know he wanted to do nothing different till he got something different put in front of him and it was feeling more appealing to him. So now he decided that he would rather do that, but he didn't feel that way until he got over to the Casa More. So it wouldn't have applied when she was talking about it last week, whatever, right? Oh, they were so mean to him, and TT had his bag, and he got into. I told y'all we almost got us a baddies moment, girl. Trinity and TT was finna go in, and I said, bitch, they really are treating him like the bad guy. And there's this big old thing about the disrespect. And I just want to say, as a fan that's watching the show, I don't think KC disrespected her. I think he was very respectful. I think for him to be a 24-year-old man in a house with naked bitches walking around all day long, I think he was very respectful towards her. And quite frankly, I will be happy when Anaya leaves the house because now we have another flip, right? Because she chose to be back with KC while Carl was trying to holler at her after Casa Amor. So Carl left. Now Carl and Amor are back in the house, which I'm glad to see that. I'm glad Carl came back and I'm glad Amor was back. And Anaya and Carl have had their talk, and he even says, he's like, I'm still open to explore, but that really kind of hurt and it's gonna take me a minute. So now she done fucked that up. That boy don't want her. Carl ain't finna fuck with her. I hope Carl and Amora. I think Carl and Amora will be a very cute couple. Amora's really cute. She's very pretty. But I hope that Carl leave Anaya's ass alone too, because she's very indecisive. She don't have a solid enough of a core to be in no situation or no circumstance like this. I think she's pretending very well and she's riding out very well. But I don't. I'm honestly, and I really feel bad saying this because I feel like I'm supposed to be on her side, and I might lose my black card because you know how you supposed to be black and stay with all the black folks shit all the time. But I don't give a damn. I am so fucking sick of Anaya. And I genuinely feel bad saying that, but I'm tired of watching her. I'm tired of her being sad. They had a talk. K.C tried to talk to her, last night, and she was like, had this stank attitude about how disrespectful he was. He wasn't disrespectful. He tried to talk to you before and he told you that he wanted to choose you. Bitch, you was the default option. Hello. You said stay open and go explore. And you rather he explored than for you to be the default option. Then he go to explore. And now you're mad because he didn't alert you before he didn't know he was going to Casa more. Like it's just she's just a lot for me. I do not like Anaya. It might not be a popular opinion. I don't give a fuck. But I will be happy when she leave the house. I think she need to go on and leave, and I think Carl need to hook up with Amora. They need to do some little exploring and shit. Like I'm over Anaya. I am not a fan of hers. I am very glad KC moved around. Now I didn't feel like this last year when that little boy with them braids, that little cowboy boy did this to Olandria. I didn't feel like this because I feel like he could have been a lot more upfront because he wasn't upfront with her. Like he felt a little disrespectful. He was like lying to her. KC don't give that to me. I'm not getting that he's lying and like locking himself down and being like, oh, I'm never gonna explore and this and that. He never said none of that shit. But he did his best to try to affirm her and it still wasn't enough. And so it's just interesting watching these dynamics, right, in real time on this show. And like I said, this is a microcosm of the real world. So obviously it ain't the real world. But this is really true to kind of what people experience in real life and real relationships and shit. And to get to see that shit play out, especially with Melanie and Sincere. Oh, I'm gonna get to them too. But I like KC. I'm glad he hooked up with TT. Honestly, him and TT can go home too. They're just not that interesting to watch to me. I'm not really that pressed to watch them or whatever. But I don't think he was disrespectful to Anaya. And quite frankly, Anaya, I'm ready. We're ready for you to go. I'm ready for you to go. Let me speak for myself. I'm ready. for your ass to go on and go home. We're gonna send you on back home to your volleyball tournaments or something, because Love Island just ain't it for you, boo boo. We need you to, do you some more meditations, and do you some more self-affirming and some shit. Get you a good old podcast where motherfuckers can teach you how to love yourself. You can't listen to the podcast and get the tips and don't use the tips. You need to use the tips, because it's really sad to watch. It's sad to watch. So, I mean, that's what I think of Anaya and KC and that whole little debacle. I guess that's all I got to say about that shit, y'all. I'm the girl to binge B. I'm finna go find me something else to watch on TV. Bye.